I want to get this out there right now before we even jump into things. This is the first time as an Alabama fan myself in 15 years I have been worried about this football team. Things are not looking good for Alabama. And as an Alabama fan, do you think I want to say this? No, I hate saying this stuff. This is the first time in about 15 years, ever since Nick Saban has got there, that Alabama has been in some major trouble. Normally, I would say if you're an Alabama fan, you might want to click off this video right now because it's going to be bad. No. If you're an Alabama fan, you might want to watch this video so you can be prepared for what's coming. Things are not looking good in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and it's not just me that's noticing this. A lot of other people are noticing as well. And maybe the worst part about this is as an Alabama fan myself, I never in a million years thought I would be making this video while Nick Saban was still the head coach. And I for dang sure did not think I'd be making this video this year especially. Sometimes in life, you just gotta be real at yourself. What did I say about Nebraska? You're not rebuilding, you just suck. In life, we try to trick our own brains into believing something just because that's what we want to believe. That's why a lot of times you see delusional fans where they actually believe their team's really good or they can pull off the upset when in reality, you know it's not going to happen. And the one fan base that is going to lie to themselves a lot and is going to struggle with the truth the most out of any fan base in the country is the Alabama fans. Whoa. Hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, what the heck are you talking about? What are you referring to? I'm glad you asked that question, my friend. I'm talking about whenever, and it's going to happen eventually, whenever the Alabama football team slowly starts to fall off, Alabama fans are going to be in denial. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. There's no way Alabama can stay up top for the next 100 years. Whenever Mr. Nick Saban does leave, and I would say it's around the time frame of 10 or 15 years, there's going to be some bumps in the road. Maybe you do find a great head coach, but it's not going to be as good as it has been the past 15 years. All of my college football fans, let me ask you a question. Do you really think Alabama fans are going to admit they're falling off? I don't think so. Heck, they don't even know what it feels like to be ranked outside the top 10. This is the same fan base that was throwing a hissy fit last year, and they made it to the championship game. And I know some of you watching this, you remember, I called out the Alabama fan base last year. I said they was entitled and spoiled. Is it ironic? I guess you can say that because I am an Alabama fan, but I also live in reality. Anyways, let me get back on topic. We got so much to talk about in this video and go over. And no, I'm not talking about Alabama in 15 or 20 years from now. I'm talking about what's happening right now. We're on the road to 300K. I haven't done this in about a month on the channel. Let's try to see how many new subscribers we can gain from this video, and I'll tell you in the next one. There's so many new people coming to the channel and so many people watching the videos, and you're simply not subscribed. That's all I'll ever ask out of you guys. Consider hitting that subscribe button, and obviously, we're not going to hit 300K off of this video, but let's try to see if we can get slightly closer. Alright, Matt, blah, shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. I want to get this out there right now before we even jump into things. This is the first time as an Alabama fan myself in 15 years, I have been worried about this football team. Never ever in any other year since Saban has been there outside of that first year where they went 7-6, I thought Alabama was having problems. I've always thought we was going to win every single game we played. I didn't care if we was ranked 20th or number 2 or number 1 in the country. I was always confident in my team. And once again, let me clarify this because you're going to have people saying I'm trying to be biased. As an Alabama fan, I would say I'm about as unbiased as it gets. Me saying Alabama is the quote-unquote best team in the country is not being biased, it's just a fact. I think everybody knows for the past 15 years there hasn't been a better program on this earth than Alabama. I'm not even going to try to defend myself. Here's all I need to say. If I was biased, do you really think I'd be making this video? I don't think so. To all my Alabama fans, unfortunately, I'm about to hit you with some cold, hard facts. Do you know what concerns me? Last year, I knew that team wasn't supposed to be too good. They exceeded expectations, and they won about 3 games they had no business winning. That was a rebuilding year, and I already know somebody's going to say, well, Matt, you made it to the championship. How's that rebuilding? And for Alabama, it was. Offensive line was terrible most of the year. Defense was terrible most of the year. They did pick it up in the second half. The only shining stars on that team was Will Anderson, Jameson Williams, John Mechie, Brian Robinson, and Bryce Young. A lot of people fail to realize Alabama had so many problems last year, but people swept it under the rug because they made it to the championship. They had problems with attitudes on that team, and that's rare for a Nick Saban-led team. Agiye Hall and Jahleel Billingsley, they're gone now. I knew we was going to have growing pains, so I expected to have a rough season. I just now thought about what I said. Think about how spoiled us Alabama fans are. I said we're going to have a rough season last year, and we made it to the championship. Do you see how high the standard is for Alabama football? It's ridiculous. Speaking of games Alabama shouldn't have won, last year, nobody talks about this, they barely beat Florida 30 31-29, and more than likely if Florida gets that 2-point conversion, it goes in overtime. Florida's at home, so they probably would have had a good chance to win that game. Alabama didn't play good in that one. A couple weeks later, they lose to sorry Texas A&M 41-38. Here's what a lot of people don't bring up though. I'm showing you right here. It shows the W. Alabama beats Tennessee 52-24. So it looks like a blowout on paper, but it wasn't. That was a close game all the way up until the fourth quarter, and Alabama pulled away. One or two plays go Tennessee's way, you could have saw Tennessee pull out that upset. A week after that, Alabama only beats LSU, who was bad last year and pitiful, 20-14 at home. 2 weeks after that, they barely beat Arkansas. Arkansas is a solid team, but come on now, when has Alabama ever struggled at Arkansas? Barely winning 42-35. Oh, and what happens after that? Only a week later, they somehow pull off the impossible and beat Auburn 24-22 in 4 overtimes. Do y'all not see what I'm talking about? Outside of that cupcake, there was a 4-game stretch, 4 straight games where they could have lost. And outside that 4-game stretch, they lost to A&M and barely beat Florida, who was bad last year, by 2 points. When, if ever, has Nick Saban had 6 close games like that in one season? I can't remember. What do we know Alabama football for? Every single year, they are going to absolutely Donkey Kong curb stomp, ping pong smash 10 out of 12 games, and maybe 2, at max 3 are going to be close. And I'll tell you right now, I enjoyed last season probably more than any other because they were close games. I was into them. I can't speak for you, but I don't understand how Alabama fans like watching blowouts. I hate it. So to see us playing a bunch of close games, I enjoyed it more than years we've won championships. And then we all know they upset Georgia in the championship. That was a flawless and perfect game. Alabama couldn't have played better. Beat Cincinnati, then they lose to Georgia again. I don't know why I said they lose to Georgia again. I meant they play them again and lose. You get what I'm trying to say. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, why are you wasting my time? Why did you bring that up? I watched it. I saw what happened last year. Well, calm down, bozo. I just wanted to give you a refresher because it's important to what we're about to get into next. What did your boy Nick Saban say about a month ago that had everybody talking? He claimed last year was a rebuilding year and this team's going to be special. He said this team's got more mature guys, they got more minutes, and everything is going to be back to normal, right? And well, after watching Alabama and Texas play in this recent Saturday, you know what I saw? I saw the exact same Alabama team from last year in 2021. It looked like a carbon copy paste. It was the same thing and the same problems. Offensive line couldn't block. Wide receivers, Alabama wide receivers dropping wide open passes? No running game whatsoever outside of an 80-yard run. Besides that, wasn't there. I stated this Sunday in the Week 2 recap. Why did Alabama win this game? Because of 2 players. Bryce Young, who is Houdini. He is probably the clutchest Alabama quarterback of all time, and the kicker, Will Reichard. Alabama shouldn't have won that game. They had no business winning that game, and the fact they won it still blows my mind. And a lot of Texas fans would say that they did get lucky, and I would agree with that. Not so much on the referees and whatnot. I didn't really see too much there. But with Quinn Ewers getting hurt, yes, Alabama got lucky. Wait a minute. That reminds me of something. Oh yeah, it reminds me of last year. It was the same stuff. Alabama barely beating a team that in the past 5 or 10 years they would crush. It's not the fact that it's a close game that I'm worried about. It's the fact that Texas and Alabama, team for team, they look like an even matchup. Let me clarify on that. They should be an even team because Texas has talent. The only thing that's held them back, and I've already stated this, I'm going to say it again, is a good quarterback and a good head coach. But think about it. Come on, guys. When has any team ever stacked up against Alabama good? Watching that game Saturday, it was the first time in a long time, if ever, I sat there and said to myself, well, dang, maybe our players just aren't better than theirs. When are we going to come down to reality? That's what I saw on Saturday. I don't know what you saw, but that's what I saw. Our receivers couldn't get open. Our running backs couldn't run. Our offensive line couldn't block. None of that. And to make matters worse, and this is what concerns me as well, and it's a major red flag, we got pushed around. Their defensive front, which isn't that great, pushed around our offensive front, and their offensive front pushed around our defensive front, which is good. The bully met the bully Saturday. It was an even matchup. Alabama fans, and even non-Alabama fans, I want you to think about this. Whenever Alabama loses, what do we think of? Oh, well, Alabama, they made a ton of mistakes. They had some costly fumbles, costly interceptions. They missed some field goals. The other team didn't really beat them. They beat themselves. Think about it. Dig in your memory. Alabama, whenever they lose, it's always some missed field goals. It's always some crazy play. It's always a fumble. It's always an interception. Something bad happened where Alabama, they shot themselves in the foot. And even though Alabama has lost games in the past like that, I don't feel bad about the team. I'm just like, okay, we made a couple of mistakes that we normally don't make. Well, Saturday, here's why I'm concerned. Alabama didn't play bad. They didn't make no mistakes. When, if ever, as an Alabama fan, can you say the special teams saved the day for us? Alabama didn't commit a single turnover. The quarterback played good and great in the fourth quarter, and you barely squeaked down a W against Texas on the road? I'll talk about Texas in just a second, but think about that. And you know what it is? Alabama didn't play bad. Maybe everyone else in college football, they're just catching up to them. I have large enough sample size to back that statement. Look what's happened in the past 2 years. Even last year, I stated it. I was like, we barely beat Florida, barely beat LSU, Arkansas, barely beat Auburn. You know, we got some young guys. Maybe it's just a rough year. Well, now I've seen it for the second straight year, and when am I going to come to the terms with maybe we're just not as dominant as we have been in the past 15 years? When are we going to start having that conversation? When are we going to say, well, dang, maybe Alabama isn't 2 times better than every other team now? I don't care what anybody says. Alabama did not play bad against Texas. They didn't play good, but they didn't play bad. I think Texas played a great and dang near perfect game, and Steve Sarkisian called an awesome game as well. And for Alabama, I would say it was average. It wasn't good, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad. It was average. I already know somebody's running to the comment section right now. Well, Matt, Alabama had 15 penalties. And I think that's tied for the most ever in the Nick Saban era. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's true. I don't even understand that argument because penalties has nothing to do with playing good or bad. That is mental errors, and that just shows lack of discipline. You got to remember, 4 of those were on Will Anderson, and that's uncommon. That's never going to happen again. And I think about 3 or 4 of the other ones were pass interferences, and those were smart penalties because our corners, they were getting beat, so if they wouldn't have held on or pass interference, it would have been a touchdown. Not concerned to the slightest bit with the penalties. They'll clean that up. If you're an Alabama fan, there is one team and there's one game on your schedule that's coming up in a couple of weeks that does worry me and I'd be scared of. And that team is a lot of team that nobody's talking about, and it's Arkansas. You want to know why? It's rather simple. Arkansas is one of those sneaky good teams, and they're also very, and I mean very physical, just like Texas. Oh, and what else? Arkansas has one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country who goes by the name of KJ Jefferson. And we saw Saturday what happens when Alabama plays a good quarterback. It's not too pretty. Here's what you need to pay attention to in this Arkansas game. Is Arkansas kind of similar to Texas? Are they going to be able to bully Alabama? Can the offensive line push Alabama back like Texas did? Can the defensive line get pressure like Texas did? But I'm telling you, things are not looking good for Alabama. And as an Alabama fan, do you think I want to say this? No, I hate saying this stuff. I want to talk about how we're going to Donkey Kong smash everybody, but I can't make those videos because I don't believe it. Maybe we're just not as good as we used to be, and that's okay to say. I want Bama fans to understand that. Even if Alabama isn't as dominant as they've been the past 10 years, you're still a top 3 football team. I honestly and firmly believe everybody else is catching up. I don't think Bama's getting worse. Everybody else is just getting better players and catching up to them. Y'all don't even get it. I could have made this a 2-hour video. I'm not playing. I could have made it 2 hours. There was so many problems and stuff that concerns me in Alabama, but I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below. But Roto 1 Millie!